My name is Eugene Braxton. Um, I'm from Philadelphia. I had a near-death experience when I was 14. It was a near-death drowning. I was 14. Now, I used to play a lot of sports in high school and junior high: swimming, track, water polo, basketball. And we were at a church picnic and at a lake in the summer, jumped off of a dock into the water, feet first, and I got stuck in the muck at the bottom of the lake. And a few other athletes too had drowned in that same lake, I learned later. So I was stuck up into the knee. I could not get loose. I sucked in. After holding my breath as long as I could, I sucked in what seemed like trash cans full of water into my lungs. And at that point, I was full with the lake water. And my body went stiff, just like that. And it began, that's when paralysis began to set in. I was awake, but I couldn't move. I could see and I could hear, but I couldn't move. And I fell down to die. That's one of that's like one of the stages of death. Death is like a process, has certain steps in it that I'll go into later. But so I'm full of water. I fall over to die, and with my knee still stuck in the muck. And that's when I noticed that the body was going through several changes. First, I noticed the sense of time slowed down to like a dream time or a dream level of consciousness, how you are in a dream. Then I noticed that the organs in my body were shutting off, and I not only could I feel them, I knew which ones were being shut off or shut down as my body was dying. Like I could feel the liver going out like a soft candle. I could feel the kidneys shut down. The lungs were already stopped. I fell on the bottom of the lake, and the lake muck came up and covered me just like a cold death blanket. I was shivering. I was shivering uncontrollably, really, and I couldn't stop. I was paralyzed, or what they call rigor mortis set in. And it set in from the toes and worked its way up to the hips, then to the head, throat, and head, chest, head, and throat. Paralysis set in. I couldn't move. I could see straight ahead and peripheral, on the side, and I could hear. That was it. I kept shaking uncontrollably. Then all of a sudden, while I was shaking, everything just cut off, and the pain stopped. I was warm again, and I felt a safe feeling like everything was going to be all right, no matter what happened. I had already given up any kind of chance of anyone swimming down, seeing me, and coming to get me. No one ever did either. So paralysis set in. All the organs had shut down. I had given up the struggle for life and death, and was literally just waiting to die. I could only see straight ahead and hear. The last thing I could, at this point, I could hear the heartbeats. That was the only thing I could hear. Had someone jumped down to save me, I would have been able to see them out of the corner of my eye, but no one came. So I was listening to the heartbeats, and as I listened, it got slower and slower and slower. The volume was still the same, but I noticed they were beating less and less each beat. And I knew that soon it would stop. So finally, it did stop, and there was a loud boom when my eyes shut. And the last thing I heard was that boom, and at the same time, my eyes shut. Then it was complete blackness. And this is what is known as the dark void. It's like a soundless, unconscious state of being. It would be like if you were in a coma inside of a coffin, like that. That didn't last too long. Now that boom was the body fully shutting off. I was in complete darkness, what they call the black void, and that's actually where the body, the spirit body, begins its separation from the physical body. And just like a leaf falls off of a tree, in the reverse way, when a person dies, the spirit body floats up out of the physical body and regains consciousness for about 15 to 22 seconds after the person dies, has a permanent death. So there was full darkness, couldn't move, everything went black. About 15 to 22 seconds later, which is the same time that it takes for a person to come out of their body during an out-of-body experience. And the near death is a spiritual out-of-body experience. So they're similar. So I regained consciousness after death, 15 to 22 seconds after I died. I woke up suddenly. Now, I woke up in a sphere, like a gyroscope, and I was inside of the gyroscope. As I regained consciousness, I could see my spirit body rematerializing to form an invisible double of myself. So my spirit body was materializing into a solid form. And that took about 5 seconds. So I wake up, I see my spirit body solidifying invisibly, and I can see it glistening too. I could see the atoms and stuff glistening, and I could see through the hand, and it was sparkling inside the hand. I took about 5 seconds, and that's when I regained consciousness after death. I realized I was somewhere in space and time, but I didn't know where I was. I looked around, and the first thing I saw was my dead body. I was just floating at this time. The first thing I saw was my dead body, and it was about 9 to 10 feet underneath me, or about the height of a basketball hoop. And when I saw that, I remembered what had just happened, and I realized that I was still alive. I was glad too. I realized I was dead. Really didn't care. It seemed like it was a mannequin that was laying down there, but I saw the leg was still stuck, and I remembered that's where I died. And once I realized that I was awake, and I call that the realization of time and space, where the time was the time of death, and the space was the invisible realm, or what some people call the second heaven. That's where dreams, out of bodies, UFOs, all of that stuff happens. That's also where the afterlife is. So I regain consciousness after death. I look around, notice my surroundings, and I see my dead body. I realize that I did die, yet I'm still alive. And I was super glad. Once I realized where I was and what had happened, I appeared into this room that was revolving, the life review room. And when a person is having a spiritual experience and they suddenly disappear and appear someone else, that's a lapse in consciousness. And that should be watched, because it means that something may have happened between here and there. Like there is no continuity of consciousness where you remember step by step, you go into another place. So I appeared in this life review room. I was floating in midair in the middle of it. And here I have a picture of it. I can show you. It's even better. I was floating in the middle of this life review room, right here. And it's also back here, but floating in the middle of this life review room, there were 3 screens in front of me. It was like a round tire, or if you can remember at the amusement parks, those rides that we used to get on, we'd stand up and hold onto the bars and it would spin round and round. Then the bottom would drop out and we'd be stuck to the side. It was like that, but bigger. So I was floating in this life review room. The 3 screens were already running. One showed me everything I had ever done, the other one showed me everything I had ever said, and the other one showed me everything I had ever thought, even in secret by myself. Then I was asked by a voice 3 questions. What have you done for others? What have you done to improve yourself? And have you always believed in me? And he already knew the answers to those questions. At the same time, on the side, there was what some people might feel is like a Muhammad, a Buddha, or a Jesus-like figure exhorting God in my behalf to let me into heaven and to the higher realms. Now, once I was asked those three questions, and once I said, yes, I have always believed in you, which he knew whether I did or not, I was suddenly again transported to a beach-like setting. And again, that's another lapse of consciousness. Uh, and so I was transported to a beach-like setting, and I naturally looked out on the horizon, and I saw a sun coming up. Let me see if I can show you. I saw a sun coming up in the horizon. Now, this sun was yellow, just like a sun, and I watched. As I watched it, the sun and I rose in unison, slowly with it, even though he was on the other side of the sky. And I was no higher than like the street lamps on the highway. I rose in unison with it, and I could feel the rays coming from the sun were healing me, like orange. Like orange is a color of health, and so the orange rays were healing me. I could feel them going right through me. So as the sun got about 10 o'clock in the sky, about the height of 10 o'clock, it suddenly, imperceptibly, without seeing it change, it became red. And the red sun started pulsing, these waves. And these were waves of ecstasy, nirvana, and bliss, where the person feels the love sensations, the rapturous undulations, almost orgasmic to the person. It is actually orgasmic, but it's coming from like a love-centered place. So the person feels these, I felt these ripples going through me. And just like the orange sun, the red sun had effects too. And these were effects of love, health, healing, everything connected to the color red, but especially love. And you could feel the waves and rays coming and undulating through you, almost to a point where it was something to be noticed. Because in those realms, whenever emotions become too extreme, that's a possible illusion. Just like when a person has a dream and it gets scary to the point where he can take it no more, he wakes up. So I was noticing the super ecstatic reverberations and vibrations that were going through me. And when a person is in a dream or has an out of body or a near death or in any of those type of things, you want to have the full emotional control, like just like Mr. Spock, so you can observe fully without reacting to what's happening. And in that way, you feel a lot more than you would if you were reacting to it by not reacting. So I was going through these things and watching them, just like the picture of this guy without emotion, just watching it fully and not responding, just observing. And so the red rays super pulsed through me and also gave me strength and health too. But the love factor and that nirvana, so that's where the level of nirvana and bliss come in. And the person doesn't want to be swept up in those emotions because any kind of extreme emotions, whether happy, sad, or if they're extreme, that's something to be watched. You want to get into the moderate middle part. So at this time, I was still in the air. And it was the red love of God's forgiveness that let me know that, yes, I would be allowed into heaven and would have the eternal life. That was the part of the judgment. That red sun was God's judgment saying, yes, you've lived a decent enough life and you've loved me where you can get in. And people are afraid of the judgment, but the judgment is super easy, where if you had only believed that he was God, you're in. A lot of times people get choked up talking about it because it's like the most important thing that a person can go through if you have the near death. I mean, everyone's going to die, but then when you die and get to live again, that's super incredible. And you can't believe it, but you're glad that there is a God and he is the exact one that you need to come at that moment. So the red lights, the red sunlights were super strong, almost alarmingly strong, but I was watching. Then after God's judgment allowed me to proceed upward, and there's always a movement upward with the spirit. the person always wants to unite with that he is from, to unite, merge. The person has a natural inclination to go upward, to ascend higher, and merge back in where he is from with God. And I consider myself a mystic. A mystic is someone who his main goal is to have a one-on-one conscious union with God. And it can be done. It can be done over and over and over. And for me, that's the kind of life that I like to live and that I need to live. And the difference between a psychic and a mystic, the psychic is someone who has psychic abilities that he neither fully controls or fully understands. The mystic is someone who has had all those abilities, has controlled them and mastered them. Those are like prerequisites to get up to those higher levels. So there's a lot of things that go with that. Purification, fasting, you've probably heard of those things that will bring on more spiritual perception. And once a person has one psychic experience, whether it be a powerful dream or a deja vu or an out of body, then there will probably have another and then another and then another. Once you have a bona fide psychic experience, more will come, and the person should get used to them. The person can also bring on more psychic experiences by doing the nightly meditational breathings right before they go to sleep. That'll help them open up those dream barnyard doors. The dream, like there's a quote, a dream vision, the things we see in our sleep is the primary method by which human beings experience communication with the Creator, and it's true. So a person doesn't have to necessarily have a near death to experience that stuff. You can have it through a powerful dream, and people should read about dreams and practice dream control, because you can get all those gifts from dreams, and the dreams will lead you to an out-of-body experience. You'll be able to control your dreams so much, you'll recognize the symptoms of an out-of-body. Like one is paralyzation. Just like the paralyzation that occurred when I was dying, the same paralyzation occurs when you sleep. That means that you're getting ready to have an out of body. And so whenever you're paralyzed and you're half awake and half asleep, let it happen. Because in fact, slowly do the breathings during the paralyzation. You'll be able to stay awake and watch the whole, and watch the spirit body literally come out of the physical, move to the end of the bed, and then stand upright. Now there's a magnetic force, and I've seen a lot of your videos, and the people talk about a magnetic pulling force, especially at the time of death and during out of bodies. And that magnetic pulling force is the physical body. It's trying to get you back in because the physical body wants to live. But there's an electromagnetic pulling force that pulls us out of our body during death, and it can pull us back into our body during an out of body. But all you have to do is just lean to the side, and you can slowly pull away from it. But if you get too close to the bed, it'll yank you back into your body. So having the out of bodies really helped me maneuver and operate in that near-death world, which is a spiritual out of body. And if the person works on the breathings, the dreams will come, then the out of bodies will naturally come. And once you start having the out of body experiences that we do have every night, we just don't remember them. And those breathings will help you recall it too. And if you get sticky with remembering the dreams, do the breathings and put some crystals underneath your pillow. You'll remember every detail of the dream then. And there are certain ways to wake back up where you can remember the dream. Like usually you go in reverse. You remember the last thing that happened, then before that, then before that. And the memory starts bubbling up and you can remember a good amount of the dream. So the red light. And so God let me in. I was super happy, super elated. And the person is happy that there is a God, because when you have died, you don't know whether you're going to heaven or hell, which is no existence at all, like a death-like coma sleep. That's exactly who you want, God to come. He's the one who will never let you down. And especially at the moment of death. So the white lights were next. I go through the red sun sphere lights and get over that super emotional feeling. The white lights now they say 1 in 10, only 1 in 10 people make it into the white lights, and only 1 in 4 remember the near-death experience. And I see that with some of the near-death people who come on, you see a lot of the same things being said. The white lights, their primary purpose is to purify, and elevate the person which is in spirit body form. It's like a celestial shower that you have to go before you can even come close to God. Now, I saw those two sun spheres as God because no human could get to God, but so he will come to you one on one, like they say in the sky, one on one, and he does. Getting back to the white lights, just like everyone says, it's a super white, penetrating, permeating light, but it doesn't hurt at all. You can look right into it, and it's soft, like a cloud, like a white cloud. If you've ever been in an airplane and seen it, it's like that. Also, the rays are coming from behind the light, and these are the rays that give the person the super after effects, like where they heal faster. They can even heal themselves. I broke my neck twice. Never got it even fixed or worked on. Just let it naturally heal itself. I had a stroke that I walked off, just naturally walked it off. So you get really connected to your mind and body and spirit from a near death. But those dreams and meditations can do that too. You just have to do them consistently. So the white light elevates and purifies to a high degree so that you're fresh and spiritually clean before you step in front of God. In our condition now, we're not clean enough, inside or out, to go in his presence. And so that white light purifies and elevates the person. You'll know stuff that you didn't know before when you come back. You'll know stuff there. Also, that white light is the reason for the universal and cosmic consciousness. The cosmic consciousness is smaller. That's where you might know who's going to call on the phone, or synchronicities. You know, you say, you just think about someone, they knock on the door. That's cosmic consciousness. Universal consciousness, where you know everything all at once. You can know whatever you want. So back to the white lights. I'm ascending upward, and there's like a gravity type pull that's like a tractor beam that's pulling me up, yet I'm willingly going along into the white lights too, because you're yearning to merge and meet and see God, which you can do. Because you know that God's behind this. So you're being showered with this white light. It's permeating you and it's filling you with information. Scientists know that there is information in the light, and that white light was the strongest. So you're fully cleansed, you're fully purified. And then I briefly passed out, again, another lapse of consciousness before I got through the end of the white light. And I regained consciousness. I was sitting on like a round platform, and I noticed some beings in the background. And once I started to focus in on them, there was a being right in front of me. And this being was what we would call God. That's also what the world authorities that I work with called the controller. And I called it the controlling agent in charge. The controlling agent in charge is an entity that roams every paranormal corridor and doing what it wants at will. This controller has complete power over anything in the esoteric realm. So, and I knew that this being that was in front of me was God. And so I wanted to see exactly who he was. I wanted to look into the face of God. And you can see God, but you cannot look directly into him for too long, or remember the experience fully. Because I tried twice. And I was put under a kind of swoon. And through the swoon, I was looking at this being. And then he knocked me out. And then through willpower alone, I looked back up at him again. And I couldn't see the face, but I could see the figure, but I couldn't look upon the face. And then he knocked me out fully. And as he knocked me out fully, the platform that we both were in began revolving. One went one way, and the other part of this circle went the other way. It was the same thing in the life review, where one ring went one way and the outside went the other way. That's super important. So I started, and that's when the being and I locked, gazed at each other, and the mixing, melding began. That's where the person mixes with God and becomes one with the fountainhead, which is the mystic stream. So I mixed with this being fully, merged with him, and that's what they also call the marriage with God. Um, uh, was knocked out, and then I woke up at the bottom of the lake, and just like a fish, when he's on the dock of the boat, and you think he's dead, and then you put him in the bucket of water, he wakes back up. The same with me. And something that he thrust me up out of the muck, and I swam to the top, and underneath the dock, choked out gallons of that lake water. And then I crawled up on the beach, and the last thing that I remember of that day was scraping the muck off of my shin. And then, just like any 14-year-old would do, I put it in the back of my mind and forgot about it until I was older, 17, 18, 19. But I would have a UFO abduction just a few years after that. But that was the near death. One of the most important things that a human can and should do is to know themselves. The person should, the person must find themselves and then find the God within themselves and by themselves. That's an important thing to do. You want to, it's a person's natural and highest inclination to get to know the invisible part of them, that spirit self, that soul. It's really our soul, because the spirit is the personality of the soul. Like they say, he's such a spirited young man. So the spirit, and we have a spirit body, but the spirit is literally our personality of our soul, and it's our soul that lives on eternally. So what the person wants to do is get to know the other side of themselves. Just like we have two minds, our conscious and subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, the inner mind, that's the awake mind of the spirit body. And through meditation, through dreams, and even through just thinking into yourself inside your own head, you can get in contact with that nonverbal, silent, invisible you who has more power and is waiting to help you with anything you need. And the person has to learn how to communicate with that nonverbal side of them. And through dreams is a good way, and through the meditations when you're half awake and half asleep. So the person wants to unite with that spiritual self. And you can practice this right in the dreams, where every night you're getting in touch with your spirit self. And if you want to know something, you can go to sleep, tell yourself, I want to know this, I need an answer to this question. And then let it go. And as you sleep, your spirit body will go out and move heaven and earth to give you what you want. Also, we were made in such a way that we can't have anything in this world that we want, especially if you go along that mystic path of inner self-development, meditation, working on the dreams, the out-of-bodies. And when the person gets to the out-of-body stage, meditation, dreams, out-of-body, then the psychic experiences that they had at nighttime will begin to happen in the daytime too. And so you work on the sight or the spiritual side of you at night. And after you get to the out-of-body level, then you'll start having psychic experiences in the daytime or 24/7. And that's when you'll be living in both worlds at the same time, where the person will, while awake, be listening for messages from the invisible world, and then while asleep, will be looking for messages from the real world. So that's your real self. And when the two of you meet, just like it says in the Bible, subconscious and conscious mind, then you can have everything, anything in this world that you want. But by the time you get to that level, there's little things in this world that you want, because all those really valuable things are invisible and you can't touch them, but you can build them up inside yourself and make yourself a complete self-actualized 360-degree person by developing that higher self inside yourself. It knows a lot and it can do a lot too.